Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi there everyone. My name is Aidil Afiq bin Muhammad Anif. My matrix number is 10DEP 19F1042.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name Ahmad Imran Hakim bin Muhammad Yahya. My matric number is 10DEP19F1043.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Zawawi bin Muhammad Zubair. My matric number is 10DEP19F1040. I'm from DEP4A.
Assalamualaikum. Yes, my name is Muhammad Danish Muiz bin Muhammad Najib. My matrix card number is 10DP19F1202.
Today, we will be presenting on a research that we have done on recycling awareness among the students of Seberang Perai Polytechnic. Let's just not waste any more time. Let's get straight into it. So now we are on the introduction part of our investigation. So what does it actually mean by recycling? Recycling is the process of recovering scrap or waste and reprocessing the material into useful products. Glass, paper, plastics, and metals such as aluminum and steel are all commonly recycled. Dead plants, fruit, and vegetable scraps can also be recycled through composting. Okay, now that we have the basic ideas of what recycling means, let's just ask ourselves, why is it so important to recycle? There are numerous reasons why recycling is crucial, but I'm just gonna point out a few. First, harmful chemicals are released from rubbish in landfill sites. Recycling helps to reduce the pollution caused by those wastes by reducing the amount of trash in landfill sites. Next, habitat destructions are some of the effects caused by deforestation. Recycling reduces the need for raw materials so that the rainforest can be preserved. Not only that, think about how raw materials usually extracted and what harm these activities might do to the earth. Logging, mining, quarrying, and fracking all are causing harm by causing air and water pollution. These activities can also destroy precious animal habitats. This is one of the reasons why recycling is very important to our earth, as it reduces the need for new raw materials. The last but not the least, huge amount of energy are used when making products from raw materials, but recycling requires lesser energy and therefore helps to preserve natural resources. As recycling saves energy, it also reduces greenhouse gas emissions, which help to tackle climate change.
Hi Miss, today I will be presenting on our purpose on why we are conducting this experiment. Okay, first, as we all know how important recycling is to us, we have done this investigation to determine the level of awareness that the student of Seberang Perai Polytechnic had about recycling. Not only that, we have held this inquiry among the students of Seberang Perai Polytechnic to identify how much knowledge does they have about recycling.
So, how did we carry out these investigations? First, we have created the questionnaires in a form of Google Form where the respondents were given choices for each questions. The questionnaires were divided into two parts, where part A was about the information of the responder, while B has 10 questions associated with recycling. Next, we have distributed the Google Form to 50 students from various departments on online platforms. Furthermore, we have not only distributed it to students from different departments, we have also shared it to students from semester 1 until semester 5.
As stated in the table above, the survey forms were handed out to 50 students. from 4 main departments in Polytechnic Seberang Perai. First, the survey forms were distributed to both male and female students. There were 28 male students, which were 56%, and 22 female students, 44%, that responded to the survey. Next, the information on the respondents' semester were collected. Regarding the survey forms, there were students from 3 semesters that filled the survey forms. Semester 1 had 18 students. Semester 2 had 3 students. Meanwhile, Semester 4 had 29 students. In a nutshell, the highest number of the respondents came from JKE department with 15 respondents, followed by JKM department with 13 students, JP department with 12 respondents, and the lowest were from JTMK department with 10 respondents participated in this study.
As shown above, the bar graph mentions about frequency of recycling. The y-axis represents number of respondents, while the x-axis represents frequency of recycling. There were 4 segments that were included, which were once in a while, most of the time, always, and never. The number of students that recycle once in a while were a little much higher than the students that always recycle. Lastly, the figure of students that never recycle were dramatically lower than the students that recycle most of the time. The bar graph above states about the most items recycled among students in Seberang Perai Polytechnic. The y-axis represents number of responders, meanwhile the x-axis represents types of item recycled. 4 segments were included in the bar graph, which were plastic, paper, can, and none. The number of students who choose plastics as the most item recycled were marginally higher than students that answer paper. Other than that, the students that have recycled none of the items above were slightly lower than students that choose can as the most recycled item.
The pie chart above describes on whether the students are being diligent in recycling. This pie chart consisted of 2 segments, which was yes and no. The results above clearly tells us that more than 1/5 of respondents were diligent in recycling. In the meantime, slightly more than 1/3 of respondents were not diligent when it comes to recycling. pie chart above represented about the awareness to recycle items in Seberang Perai Polytechnic. The respondents were given with two choices, which was yes and no. From the data above, it could be seen that exactly a tenth of respondents had no awareness of recycled items, while less than a majority of respondents answered yes, which means that they had the awareness to recycle items. Beyond is a pie chart about the knowledge of recycling among the students of Polytechnic Seberang Perai. The pie chart consisted of two segments, which was a lot and a little. Surprisingly, more than a half of respondents had only a little knowledge on recycling, whereas slightly more than one-third of respondents had a lot of knowledge about recycling.
Beyond is a bar graph that displays about the difficulty level to decide items that can be recycled among the students of Seberang Perai Polytechnic. The bar graph were included with three segments, which was easy, neutral, and difficult. Based on the results above, the number of students who said to have neutral level to decide between items that can be recycled and can't be recycled were drastically higher than students that finds it difficult to differentiate between them. Unsurprisingly, the number of students who considered it was easy were dramatically lower than the number of students that thought neutral were their difficulty level on deciding items that can be recycled. The bar graph above presents the amount of recycle bins in Seberang Perai Polytechnic. Exactly 3 segments were inserted in the bar graph, which were more than enough, and less. By referring to the bar graph, the number of students who believed there is more than enough of recycle bins were significantly lower than students who thought that there were enough amount of recycling bins in Seberang Perai Polytechnic. Furthermore, the number of students who reckoned there were less recycle bins in the campus were a little much higher than the students who assumed there were more than enough bins in Seberang Perai Polytechnic. Above stated a bar graph that illustrates regarding the difficulty level to find the recycling bins in Seberang Perai Polytechnic. The x-axis corresponds to the difficulty level to find recycling bins, while y-axis corresponds to the number of respondents. There were 3 segments attached with the bar graph, which was easy, neutral, and hard. Based on the bar graph, it's clear that the number of students that said it was easy to find recycling bins around the campus were fractionally lower than the students that felt hard to find one. Not only that, the number of students that thought neutral was their difficulty level to find recycling bins were drastically higher than students who finds it easy to look for a recycling bin within the campus.
Above shows a bar graph that illustrates data for the request of plastic bag whenever buying something. 3 segments were contained in the bar graph, which were always, sometimes, and never. Based on the data from the bar graph, the number of students that always ask for the plastic bag whenever buying something were significantly higher than the students that never request for it. Meanwhile, the students that answered always were drastically lower than students that chose sometimes as a response to the query. The pie chart above illustrates about the awareness on polygreen among the students of Seberang Perai Polytechnic to reduce plastic usage. There were two options attached with the query, which was low and high. According to the stats above, more than a half of respondents said to have high awareness on polygreen in Seberang Perai Polytechnic to reduce plastic usage, while slightly more than one-third of respondents said to have low awareness about it.